welcoming song.
Good morning, Chalice. Welcome to Chalice Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a diverse community supporting and sharing our beliefs and experiences, nurturing a liberal religious spirit, united by our desire to foster love and service, both right here and in our wider community. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever your life's journey has led you, we are glad you are here. Whether you gather with us every Sunday, once or twice a year, or are with us this morning for the very first time, you are welcome here. I'm David Peel, the worship associate today, and today's service is a guest preacher service. And our pulpit guest this morning is our own June Bailey. Our worship topic this morning is entitled Getting Serious About Unitarian Universalism, and June will share some thoughts about our personal searches for truth and being intentional in our living RUU values. Our worship musician this morning is Mr. Tim McKnight. Our song leaders are Rip and Celestina Pena, and our tech team back there is Hope Campbell and Jake Diak, got it, with a little extra supervision by Dean as always. And our greeters this morning out there on the courtyard were Wendy Metzger and Ralph Peters. Our minister, Reverend Sharon Wiley, will return to the pulpit on September 1st. So, welcome to our Sunday worship service. Welcome to those of you here in the chapel, and welcome to those of you joining us online by Zoom. For those of us here in the chapel, please feel free to wear masks or step outside as needed for whatever makes you feel comfortable. As you know, you will be able to hear what is happening outside while you're if you go outside, you'll be able to still hear what's going on in here. We have mics and speakers, and you won't miss a thing. We're always delighted to see newcomers joining us in worship. As a newcomer, you might be interested in the various groups we have to offer, and our e-newsletter, our email and e-news calendar are great ways to keep up and find out what we have to offer. If you're an online newcomer, you'll receive an email invitation to join our email newsletters after the service. And if you're an in-person newcomer, If you haven't already given us your email address on the way in, please give it to us on the way out if you want to stay in touch with us or have us stay in touch with you. Our weekly email is a really good way to keep up with many opportunities we have here to offer. So let's take a breath together. Now we light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. I'd like to invite Kathy Florendo to light our chalice this morning. There she is. Our chalice lighting words this morning. It is our custom to light this flame. The chalice, with its graceful flame, is a symbol of principles and practices of Unitarian Universalism. And our customary lighting of it is a reminder to ourselves that we believe in and support those principles.
Sunday clothes when you feel down and out. Straight out the street and have your picture took. Just like a dream, your spirit seemed to turn about. That Sunday shine is a certain sign that you feel as fine as you look. Beneath your parasol, the world is all a smile. That makes you feel brand new down to your your hats and leathers, your beads and buckles and bows. Oh, there's no blue Monday in your Sunday clothes. Put on your Sunday clothes when you feel down and out. Straight down the street and have your picture took. Just like a dream, your spirit seems to Sunday shine is a certain sign that you feel as fine as you look. Beneath your roller brim, the world's a simple song. A loving note that makes you tilt your nose. Get out your slickers, your flannel knickers, your red suspenders and bows. There'll be no blue Monday in your Sunday clothes. In your new straw hat. There'll be no blue Monday in your Sunday clothes. Put on your Sunday clothes.
Our call to worship comes from Sherry Woodbury. To all who are yearning for community, come in, be among us. To all who are just getting started, to all who long to go deeper, to all with tender places needing care, come in, be among us. To the ones who have healed and have care to give, For those who are curious and hungry to learn, for those who know that they have something to teach, come in, be among us. For the ones who are just beginning to suspect they might nurture others' becoming. To the young and the old, the innocent and the jaded, the fresh of mind and the deeply steeped, there is room for each and every one. Come in, be among us. Come, let us worship together. And you are now invited to join us in singing.
Okay, so we are going to be singing Dona Nobis Pacem. This is the hymn of the month. It's hymn number 388 in the gray hymnal. And each week we are learning a new part. So last week David taught us the first part, which he's going to review. And then this week we're going to teach you the second part. And then next week will be the third part. And then we'll put it all together. So would you like to review for us?
Sure. So the whole lesson includes the Latin pronunciation, Dona nobis pacem. And, oh yes, all right, we got to make you do that. Okay, ready? Great. Chem. I got it wrong. I'm sorry, Chem. I've always done the Chem, and I thought I was told it was Chum. So Chem. So we play the melody once. We'll sing it through a couple of times.
Thank you, David. For the second part, it's the same words, as you can see. Just a different emphasis. What do those words mean? Give us peace. Give us peace. Give us peace.
Sorry.
And so you're going to play this? Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated.
Our Sunday worship is the shared spiritual practice of our community, and we tend to the congregation during this time by sharing our joys and sorrows. You're welcome to write down your joy or sorrow onto a candle card, which will be collected from you. If you would like to send Reverend Sharon a confidential note about your joy or sorrow, or to make a prayer request, please email her. Her email address will be on screen in a moment. Please enjoy some music while you write down what you would like to share, so that in the sharing, your burden is lessened and your joy is multiplied. Ann McKernan shares a sorrow. A very close family friend is very ill in a coma. Please send him your prayers or thoughts of love. His name is Bill. Lena shares joy. She went to the new North County LGBTQ Center yesterday, and it is awesome. She's happy to be part of a community that supports it. Judy and Steve share joy of thanks to Chalice volunteers for serving dinner at Turk Center last night. Josie Funes, Nancy Hacker, Laura and Rebecca Brown, and Ann Fukasawa. Sorry if I got that wrong. Shannon shares joy. She's delighted to have her daughter Claire with her today. Kathleen shares joy. She is grateful for our guest teacher in RE today. Penny Bader will teach the children the science of color mixing. Callie Leaf shares joy that last week she had the joyful but exhausting task of caring for her grandson Orion while his mother started a new job. Now this one sounds like a joy, but it's kind of like, Andrea McDonald has a big joy that she's going to Maui as a house sitter for 7 glorious weeks. She will try to miss us at Chalice while she's in paradise. And from online, Allison shares that she loved hearing the choir sing, the putting on your Sunday clothes, and she is sad she can't be here today to sing with you. She's homesick with COVID summer surge. We light a final candle for all the joys and sorrows that go unshared and unspoken this morning. These two are held in the love and support of this community.
I'm sorry I didn't have time to
Oh.
the card, but I want to say a joy. Maureen and I have been friends for 50 years.
We met the year Nixon resigned. Nixon resigned.
We'd like to invite the children and anyone else who would like to come forward for the story.
This is the story of Ferdinand, written by Monroe Leaf and illustrated by Robert Lawson. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit just quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. "I like it better here, where I can sit just quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they would not pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground, as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderilleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all of the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he is sitting there still, under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy.
Please join us in singing the children to their classes.
As I mentioned earlier, our pulpit guest this morning is our own June Bailey. June was raised UU in Houston, Texas, and joined Chalice in 2016. She's been on our outreach team, she's been a worship associate for a number of years, and she's already done a rotation on the board of trustees. And June will share a sermon from Reverend Scott Alexander. Reverend Alexander was ordained in 1975 and currently serves as the minister at Unitarian Church North in Mequon, Wisconsin.
My mother presented this service at the Unitarian Fellowship of Houston, which is my childhood congregation. And when I read this service, it really resonated with me. And Reverend Sharon and I did go over it and make some small changes into the text because it needs to reflect current times. And we think this message is timeless and may even be more relevant now. Be prepared to hear the words Unitarian Universalist, religion, and serious over and over, but that's the point. And I'm happy to have a chance to share this with you. Our reading comes from Stephen Carter from his book, The Culture of Disbelief. He asserts that our society as a whole encourages individuals not to take their religion seriously. Quote, "In contemporary American culture, religions are more and more treated as just passing beliefs, almost as fads, rather than as the fundamentals upon which the devout build their lives. What this culture says is, if religions become inconvenient, give them up. If you can't remarry because you have the wrong religious belief, well, hey, believe something else. If you must go to work on the Sabbath, it's no big deal. It's just a day off, pick another day. If you can't have a blood transfusion because you think God forbids it, no problem, get a different God." And through all of this trivializing rhetoric runs the subtle but unmistakable message: pray if you like, worship if you must, but whatever you do, do not on any account take your religion seriously. This attitude exerts pressure to treat religion as a hobby, end quote. At one point in her novel, Fly Away Home, American writer Marge Piercy has a mother say of her daughters, "The girls had been raised Unitarian Universalist, which seemed a nice, sensible compromise between having no religion at all and having to lie about what we believed. Enough religion to be respectable, but not enough to get in the way." Ouch, that hurts. That hurts if, like me, you are proud to be a Unitarian Universalist and strive to be serious about your own religious life. But whether we like it or not, this is precisely what many people from other faith groups think about UUs. Remember the old jokes? What's a Unitarian Universalist? A way station between Methodism and the golf course. What do you get when you cross a Jehovah's Witness with a Unitarian Universalist? Someone who knocks at your door for no particular reason. One old down east Maine fisherman asks another, "Unitarian Universalist, what's that?" To which the other draws back, "Well, best I can figure it, it's someone who has no principles and lives by them." I used to laugh when someone told jokes about how laid back and lax we UUs are about our religion, but I'm not laughing anymore. I've stopped laughing because I realize how terribly important it is for me to take my religious life seriously. As I reach midlife, I find myself increasingly compelled by life's vast spiritual questions and pressing ethical demands. I've stopped laughing because I believe with all my heart and soul this troubled world desperately needs the compassionate and saving vision of Unitarian Universalism. I believe people, millions of people of many different cultures and backgrounds, need this transforming faith. I've stopped laughing because we can no longer allow ourselves to be marginalized, ridiculed, or dismissed. Unitarian Universalism will never realize its great potential and mission unless we are, in both reputation and reality, serious religious people. Will you join me now on a journey to explore what it means to get serious about your Unitarian Universalism? We must begin by acknowledging that we UUs are largely responsible for our reputation as the lightweight and soft religion. My colleague Bill Miller puts it bluntly, quote, "For too long, we have not taken ourselves seriously. We have offered a haven for those on their way out of institutionalized religion. We have demanded little and received the same. Too many of us have actually espoused the notion that one can believe anything and still be a Unitarian Universalist. We have resisted the strictures imposed by form and structure and embraced a laissez-faire spirituality that has commanded the respect of nearly no one." End quote. I have been a Unitarian Universalist minister for nearly 25 years. In every congregation I have served, there have been people for whom Unitarian Universalism seemed little more than a casual convenience, an occasional hobby, a peripheral part of their lives. This reality was driven home for me when a parishioner in New Jersey told me that he liked the church because it's an interesting and entertaining place to be on the Sunday mornings when I'm not away skiing. Other ministers and denominational statistics have painted the same sad picture. Far too often we have been a low participation, low expectation, low commitment religion. But something new is stirring in our movement. Younger generations are now flocking to UU churches, looking for serious, spiritual, transforming, ethical religion. There is a hunger for Unitarian Universalism that gives and expects much. But as we try to respond to this demand for serious religion, we bump up against the casualness that has defined us in the past. Regrettably, many people used to be attracted to Unitarian Universalism because it seemed the religious path of least resistance. I will never forget the long conversation I had with a man who was following his wife into a congregation I was serving. He was having trouble understanding the Unitarian Universalist way of religion. A lapsed and angry Roman Catholic, he did grasp the freedom part about Unitarian Universalism, refusing to impose any dogma or moral absolutes upon individuals. He felt great to be liberated from all that encrusted orthodoxy. But having been raised in a church where beliefs were imposed from above, not nurtured from within, he just couldn't grasp how UUism, like any serious religion, continually challenges each person to careful, authentic, compassionate, and responsible living. With more than a little sarcasm, he said to me, "Hey, this religion is great. It's a cakewalk. It's a Sunday walk in the park. No dogma, no catechisms, no confession booths, no eternal damnation or sin. I like this. If I join this church, I can lean back and believe whatever I want to." No matter how I tried to explain what a demanding, disquieting, lifelong journey it is to be seriously on the Unitarian Universalist path, this guy wouldn't get it. Like so many come-outers in our movement, he fixated on our freedom. Thank God, at last a church where I don't have to pretend to believe the stuff that I don't believe. He missed the haunting challenge and demanding tension written into the fourth UU principle. Ours is a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. To be a UU is to spend a lifetime seeking reality and truth, and to live in this world in an ethical and principled way. There is nothing casual or easy about that. My colleague Charles Magistro speaks to this point. Quote, "I'm amused by the view that it's easy to be a Unitarian Universalist. It's as easy to be a UU as it is to search the murky waters of life without sure charts to guide us or any guarantee we will find a safe port in which to put down anchor. It's as easy to be a Unitarian Universalist as it is to overcome the natural fear of the unknown and venture forth with nothing to sustain us save our zest for living and our hunger for new experience and new knowledge. Our way in religion is not the way of ease. We are called to be sailors, for many worlds exist waiting to be discovered, and not the least of them are within ourselves. It takes much persistence, courage, and curiosity to look into our own depths, to come to terms with the twin mysteries of being alive and having to die, to see ourselves in new and larger ways without being dishonest about our limitations. We have only begun to discover our potential." End quote. Unitarian Universalism does not give you freedom from religion, it gives you freedom for religion. Here's the great paradox of our faith. Being a UU does not give you freedom to believe anything you want. It rather gives you the freedom to search for and find those beliefs from which your heart and soul cannot escape. Being a UU means searching for your own defining religious principles and then allowing yourself to be captured by them. Actively practicing our free religion has an inescapable quality about it. The only choice involved is whether or not to take your emerging personal truths and principles seriously enough to actually live them on a daily basis. Once you find your moral and spiritual guideposts, and these evolve over the years, you have no choice but to follow the path that your guideposts define. This faith tradition, which trusts the integrity and worth of each individual, sets you free not so that you can casually dabble in religion, but so that you can become, as Stephen Carter puts it, intoxicated by an authentic personal faith you cannot help but live, serve, and cherish. For some UUs, this means choosing a particular demanding faith stance. For others, finding authentic religious paths is a more eclectic individual process, gradually evolving a working set of authoritative beliefs and principles. Some of the fundamental religious and spiritual sources of authority that they use in this process are the values and inspirations articulated in the Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws, the 8 principles of our faith tradition, the 100 years of our liberal faith tradition, including the writings and deeds of our UU saints, the traditions, scriptures, and ethics of the world's many great faith traditions, most especially those of the Judeo-Christian tradition, from which both Unitarianism and Universalism sprang, the consensus of human history and law, and the common moral sense and persistent conscience of the individual arising out of his or her direct experience with the world. Many UUs have come out of conservative faith traditions hurt and angry about the spiritual damage they suffered at the hands of the religion in their childhoods. At first, they use precious spiritual time, space, and energy proclaiming everything they don't believe, all the spiritual practices they no longer need, all the ethical restraints they refuse to obey, and all the forms and rituals they can't tolerate. This stage of declaring oneself free of old destructive religious beliefs is both necessary and understandable. One first liberates oneself from what I do not believe before one begins to move toward new, authentic, life-giving beliefs. Although a few UUs get stuck spiritually by wallowing in negative rebellion from their religious pasts, most sooner or later begin using the freedom that comes with being a UU to get serious about discovering what they do believe, finding the ethical and moral principles that inform their living, and engaging in spiritual practices that feed their souls and energize them for careful, responsible living. The philosopher Santayana said, "Freedom, like the air we breathe, is necessary for existence, but is insufficient for nourishment." UU minister Jim Brewer further reminds us, quote, "Freedom demands responsibility to others and life. It is not enough to be merely disciples of freedom. We must also be disciples of intelligence, sensitivity, understanding, and love. It is not enough to be free from intolerable constraints, but to be free for what is good and true and beautiful. May we realize that freedom is not an end of our religion, but in reality, only its beginning." End quote. Being a UU is about much more than the opinions and beliefs you hold. It is about the way you live every day. Our tradition has always affirmed that true religion is about deeds, not creeds. UUs are fond of saying, "Don't tell me what you believe, show me what you live." As one minister pointedly said in his sermon title, "If being a Unitarian Universalist was against the law, would there be enough evidence to convict you?" Taking your Unitarian Universalism seriously means that your beliefs, principles, and values should be visibly present in your life. People around you should be able to see your religion in all the big and little ways, in what you say and do in relationships, in how you make decisions and solve problems, in the institutions and causes to which you give time and money, in how you care for and serve other living things, most especially other people. As my colleague Robert Swain says, quote, "Faith is not enough, nor belief. Living what you believe is the principle of honesty put into practice. Unitarians and Universalists over the centuries thus have been active, out of all proportion to our numbers, in seeking justice, struggling against oppression, and making this a better world to live in," end quote. The first dimension of getting serious about your religious life, this unashamed liberal evangelist will tell you, is talking the talk. Taking the trouble when appropriate and respectful to share with others, family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, what you religiously believe and why you believe it. But true religion, transforming, saving, compassionate religion, is then about walking the walk. It's about rolling up your sleeves and genuinely living a theology of dirty hands. It's about standing up for principles, living your values, and serving others. Such religion, unlike the lackluster UUism March Piercy describes, very much gets in the way. It is not convenient to live by one's most dearly held principles. There are many costs and sacrifices that are required. True religion limits, tests, and challenges the individual. It is often anything but fun, for in this broken world of ours, it is hard to serve justice, difficult to work for peace and equality, demanding to live compassionately. The history, spirit, and principles of our UU faith clearly call upon us to grow bigger, more inclusive hearts. Being a UU means daily lending yourself and your soul to the building of a gentler, more humane world. Most often not in grand and glorious heroic feats like all those accomplished by great human saints, but in little everyday ways that have the power to transform our world, one caring, responsible deed at a time. Now, please don't be intimidated. Being serious about your Unitarian Universalism means that you simply strive to make a positive, principled difference right where you live, in your little cluttered corner of life, in all the everyday ways that count. Our religion, well and responsibly lived, looks like the everyday examples expressed throughout this sermon. Being a UU is not about single-handedly rising to the level of noble sainthood, like UU Dorothea Dix treating any and all patients in the Civil War, or Theodore Parker protecting runaway slaves with his loaded pistol, or Reverend James Reeb dying in the streets of Selma. It's about being a caring, authentic person, living the beliefs and values that grow in your life's center. Let's consider some ideas to help us get more intentional and serious about our religious life. First, articulate to yourself what you now believe as a UU. And remember, beliefs and values can and do change over a lifetime, but at any given point in your life, you can clearly express to that to which you have loyalty. Second, assess the ways in which you already live your Unitarian Universalism. Third, identify new ways in which you want to express your religious and ethical commitments. And lastly, take the necessary steps to fulfill your commitments. It is our hope that you will choose to utilize this process for becoming more intentional about walking your Unitarian Universalist walk, to take Unitarian Universalism seriously by visibly living it. I close with an affirmation from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greensboro in North Carolina. Being a Unitarian Universalist means taking personal responsibility for your own religious life. No one will try to remake you religiously. We won't offer you final and absolute truths or rigid dogma. Instead, we try to provide a stimulating and congenial atmosphere in which you may seek answers, in which you may ask new questions, in which you are free to discover the best that is in you. We reject the idea that a book or institution is superior to the conscience and intellect of a morally responsible person. We affirm that your spiritual well-being is yours to determine. Please rise in spirit or body to sing.
We will be singing hymn number 1058 in the Teal Hymnal, if you'd like to sing along. Please be seated.
The Sunday offering is an expression of the generosity that makes our congregational life possible. As Buddhist teacher Christina Feldman writes, generosity lies at the heart of spiritual practice. Extending generosity to ourselves and others gladdens our heart, is a direct way of healing division, and brings joy. We encourage you to text your donation to Chalice. If you haven't texted a donation before, once you text the amount, you'll get a reply with a link to enter your credit card information. If your Sunday donation is meant to be part of your pledge payment, please be sure to indicate pledge after the dollar amount. The phone number for text donations will be on screen in a moment. But if you prefer to make a donation in that good old-fashioned cash or hard check, there are envelopes on the table by the door, and you can leave that kind of donation in the wooden box right there. Please give generously. Please join in dedicating our offering with the words of affirmation. At Chalice UU congregation, love is at the center of everything we do.
Okay, so Unity Groove is back. And we're going to sing a song today. We pick our songs based on what we enjoy singing and playing, but we try to look for deeper meaning in some of the message that comes through. And so been listening to this song, every morning to kind of familiarize myself with it. And, it's a lot more uplifting than listening to my true crime podcast to get ready. I feel like I feel like the message is more uplifting and in line with what June shared with us today about the things you do and being active in your the way you live your life and how those little things, even when people are not there with you, that help you get your mind right for the day. So whatever it is, if you have a morning mantra or prayer or a book you read, try maybe even listening to this song or songs like it to help you. Yeah, ready. Listen as your day unfolds, challenge what the future holds, try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears, go ahead, release your fears, stand up and be counted, don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. Herald what your mother said, read the books your father read, try and solve the puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you, others take a different view. My, oh my, hey, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. Time asks no questions, it goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can't stand the pace. The world keeps on spinning, you can't stop it if you try to. This time it's danger staring you in the face. Oh, remember, listen as your day unfolds, challenge what the future holds, try and hold your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears, go ahead, release your fears. My, oh my, hey, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know is love will save the day. Got to be bold, got to be bad, got to be wise, no, never sad. Got to be hard, not too hard. All I know is love will save the day. All we know
As I was just sitting there, my watch buzzed, and I realized my mom is watching this service live. I thought she was going to watch it later, so hi, Mom. No pressure or anything. So please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, spirit of love, spirit of hope, spirit of justice, God known by many names. You have given us a day unique from any other. You have connected us, all of us, with each other and with the world in ways that are largely a mystery to us. You've given us little instruction other than to be present in our own lives, to feel wonder at the creations of the universe, and to love one another. You have put gifts and challenges in our paths, joys and sorrows, strengths and frailties, some of which we have already encountered, and others we have yet to discover. On this unique day, may we receive exactly what it is that we need. Amen.
Are you sick of us yet? Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
Our closing words are adapted from Robin Gray. As we prepare to depart, we give voice to these hopes. May we know ourselves in community, even while we are apart. May a passion for justice burn in our lives. May we carry the light of compassion in our hearts, and may it be visible in our every action. May we be whole in our devotion to truth, and always carry the lamp of peace before us. Love and blessings to each of you. You're invited to close our time together by singing the well. After our closing hymn, please enjoy our social hour on the courtyard and online. June and I look forward to greeting you at the door to hear how the service was meaningful.